Welcome to Not Going Quietly, the podcast where we inspire growth, beat down biases, and get into all sorts of good trouble, with co-hosts Jonathan Beal and Britt East.
No topic is off limits as we explore ways to help everyone leap into life with a greater sense of clarity, passion, purpose, and joy.
So get ready to join us for some courageous conversation, because Not Going Quietly starts right now.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Not Going Quietly, the podcast for outraged optimists and heartbroken healers all over the world, where we surface life-searing truths in the name of radical togetherness. I'm your host, Britt East, with my fantabulous co-host, Jonathan Beal. Jonathan, how the hell are you today?
Good. Yeah, it's a lot colder since we last spoke, because, we always start these episodes off with the weather. So it's a lot colder. But good, we're in the midst of our country falling apart politically, which is always a joy. And we seem to be careening for a cliff edge, which we have been since 2016. So there's that. How are you?
Well, I'm glad we're not going to, kind of avoid the elephant in the living room, the head of lettuce that is your new prime minister. I've never seen anything quite like it. The departure of your finance minister in the UK, I think your home secretary just left too. It's something else. Yep. It's like you're trying to make the US look good. You're doing everything you can to make the shit show of the United States look a little less shitty, I think.
Yeah, at least over your way, like something positive are happening. I know that there's the ongoing threat of Donald Trump, but we seem to just be digging the hole deeper and deeper every time, and people keep voting for it. So here we are, Great.
Hooray, democracy.
Hooray.
The okayest system in the world.
Mm-hmm. And apathetic liberal voters. Gotta love those.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky today because we have someone who's going to save us from all of these shenanigans and help us figure out what in the heck is going on with the world. We're so fortunate to have Amir Yass on the show with us as our featured guest. Amir is an LGBTQ activist battling against racism, transphobia, and body shaming in the queer community. Creating safe spaces is very important to Amir, and he does that on his Instagram and TikTok accounts, which you guys have to check out. They're absolutely incredible, and of course, we'll put all of that in the show notes. Amir Yass is a queer Muslim unicorn who won't shy away from any conversation. We'll see about that, Amir. Comedy is at the center of everything he does. Chatting with Amir is like chatting with an old friend with a lot more sass. From TikTok to Instagram, Amir is always trying to educate the folks through comedy. Amir, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. and also you pronounce my name so beautifully. Most people say Amir. So I love that you said it.
Amir.
So thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I could try to. Amir. Is that better?
Amir. No, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate my name being pronounced correctly. So my dad always said, if people can say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they can say your name as well. So
yeah. Well, people can't pronounce my name either, so I try my darndest, to get it right. So I'm glad I'm in the ballpark at least. One of the things I've been thinking about this week is the amazing women of Iran. And in all seriousness, I've been an emotional wreck thinking about them and watching events unfold on there and feeling so unworthy of of democracy and my little life that I'm running, and the unreal display of courage that some of them are girls, some of them are women, are doing in like throwing off their hijabs and giving the middle finger to the regime. And and then when you take the opposite of that and you look at what has been going on in France for the last few years, where people are like, no, you're not allowed to wear the hijab, it's modesty culture, it's intrinsically evil and stuff. I just keep thinking, like, why are we so obsessed with policing female bodies? Why is that just so appealing to us? We can never get enough of it. Like, I have got some opinion about some female body somewhere in the world.
Absolutely. Isn't that, and it's so funny because I got a lot of DMs when it started, people saying, I wish I could save all the Persian women and take off all their hijabs. That's not what people are looking for. Because my mom wears a headscarf. It's a lot of people, it's actually power, you know, wearing it is like power. So I think that when you say stuff like that, it comes from, I get it, it comes from a place of not knowing, but you know, there are a couple Netflix movies where the woman will fall in love and then take off her hijab for the man. This kind of storyline is not good. That kind of storyline is not positive. And I'm someone, listen, I'm not very religious, but I am Muslim. And so when people say like, you know, F this religion, they don't know anything about it, because Islam is actually one of the most beautiful religions. Women were the first to vote in the entire world, were Muslim women. America just got voting in 1960, 50, 40, I don't even know. So it's less than 100 years. So I think, you know, it's important to know the facts. And also, a lot of Muslim women run the finances. Show me an American household where the stay-at-home mom is running the finances. That's not a thing. So, I mean, I can go on and on. The Prophet's wife was a, you know, 40-year-old. She was 20 years older than him, and she was a millionaire. So she was a self-made millionaire woman, and she's one of the main figures of Islam. People just don't know the history. We need to separate culture from religion, right? We had the Christian Crusades, but no one ever says Christians are terrorists, right? But the Christian Crusades killed more people than any Muslim terrorist ever has. So you just have to know your facts. And I think because I went to Christian school, I get both sides of the coin. So I think we just need to educate ourselves better.
And it's like, if you see somebody wearing hijab, the appropriate response is, hello. I mean,
absolutely.
Like, why do I have to have an opinion about, why do I need to express an opinion about your hijab? Like, if you're wearing it, not wearing it, it's like, I've got enough.
No. It's not your place.
Enough going on in my life.
Wearing it, we all have enough going on in our lives, right, Britt? And I think that even if she's being forced by her husband, that's not your place. Even if she's being forced, that's not your place. Your job is not to save people. Like, I think we have to stop the savior complex, especially from an American or, you know, UK lens. It's like the white savior is getting old. And I have a lot of people message me like, I wish your coming out wasn't so tough and I could just hold you in my arms. That was my experience. So when you say something like that, you're taking away from my experience, right? So, yeah.
And there's a hall monitor quality to it. Yeah, there's a hall monitor quality to it too. It's like, I want to police like what you can do because it makes me feel weird, or you know, it's I just what, you know, like you said, if a woman is being forced to wear an article of clothing, what am I going to swoop in there and suddenly change it? I mean, the whole thing is patently absurd.
Yeah, I really don't understand that whole Western idea that our culture is the enlightened, more advanced way of living. It's the most fucked up way of looking at the world. And you know, coming from the UK, you know, it really started here more than anywhere, and it continues here. You know,
Thanks,
those that don't leave the UK, or if they do leave the UK, they go to little British communities in Spain or places like that where they don't experience culture of any kind other than their own, and it's short-sighted.
It is. It is. But I mean, people are comfortable in their bubbles, right? And I understand, like, I grew up in Orange County. It's like such a bubble. And even in the Islamic communities, like, it's very bubble, right? You hang out with people that are religious, women and men go separate. So when someone shows up like me and kind of throws a grenade and is like, I'm gay and Muslim, they go nuts because I think they just can't process it. But I've always loved doing that. I've always loved to throw a grenade and be like, it wasn't me, you know? And I think that that's kind of part of my charm, so. I don't feel bad about it. You know, sorry, like, you know, and someone had messaged me like, you should be talking about Iran more and you're not doing enough. And I'm like, but see, the life of an activist is balance. You got to have some balance, like, you know?
Oh my Lord. weird. Again, it's like, why the idea that just because we have an opinion, we feel the need to express it to every person we meet. Like, you should be doing more. You're Muslim. You should be healing Iran. Or so. It is.
I'm like,
very
that's not
curious.
my job. That's not my job. And also, my heart is in Iran. Yeah. So.
You made a comment that you grew up in Orange County, I believe you said, and so maybe you'll appreciate this next thing I've been thinking about. We have listeners all over the world, and Jonathan was very generous in the intro about not making too much fun of the United States because it's just a dumpster fire at the moment. But one of the things as we approach the midterm elections, and none of us kind of really know what's going to happen. It feels like it's a teetering on a knife's edge. Everything over here. It seems like when you look at the political polls, they're really just a proxy for gas prices. More and more I think about it, I am almost like all that people in the United States seem to kind of care about is gas prices, which I get in a way because commuting here, there's such large distances and people have to travel so much for work and, with inflation and everything. But it does seem a little odd of a choice given the lack of control that a president has over gas prices and all of that. Is there any hope for us? I need a pep talk, Amir.
I don't think I'm the right person. I will do my best. I mean, I'm in Dallas, so I've been here with visiting family, and I kind of thought I would be really like oi, but actually it's been the opposite experience. I have honestly felt very welcome, and people have come up to me on the street and said, "I love your nails. I love your handbag." I feel very welcome, and I'm not saying Texas is perfect. I'm in Dallas as well, so it's a bit more like a cosmopolitan area. There's a lot of Beto O'Rourke bumper stickers, and people have it in front of their houses in areas like Highland Park. That's kind of like the Beverly Hills of Dallas. And so for those people to be like supporting a different, mayor and like a different shift or governor, I don't know what it is, but it's like, it's, the shift that's happening. I think that's like really great. And I'm trying to focus on like the glass is half full instead of looking at it like so empty, because I think that I have spent a majority of my life since 9/11, right, feeling very othered in this country, right? Like, so I think that I'm trying to look at it from a different perspective. I did a TikTok that went viral where I said, like, say America in 3 words, and I said, racist, homophobic, and Islamophobic. And, there's like maybe 1,000 comments now, and most of them are in agreement, but there are a lot of people that are in agreement, and there are a lot of people that are like, no, this is not the experience I had as an, Arab Muslim, or this is not my experience, or, as a gay person. And I'm like, it's really funny because when people don't have an experience, they try to negate someone else's experience. I've never been assaulted, but I don't negate someone's assault story. But it's so funny when it comes to racism or homophobia or Islamophobia, people are very quick to say, no, that's Europe. This is another country. And someone wrote, no, it's worse in the Philippines. Or they do like the trauma comparisons. And it was really interesting because that's just my experience. I'm just one person, and that's been my experience of America. Has America been amazing to my immigrant parents, and has it been amazing to me as well? Absolutely. But it also, I think we can do better. And so many people wrote, leave then, move, get out, we don't want you. That's not the point, because I want to make it better. Like, I care enough about America to make it better. And I know it can be better because it was built on being better. Right. So I don't like, and I know I'm sounding like I'm running for governor, but I literally, I think it can be so much better. I think it can be so much better. Come on.
It's really interesting to me that a country with a written constitution, I suppose it's no different to any other religious text, can be interpreted whichever way you like,
right?
Whichever way supports you, right? And so, whilst I can look at it and see a country built on freedoms and the American dream as such, others can look at it in a way that just is not that, but also claim it is that. And so there's a whole idea of perspective, right? Of, well, the way we view it and interpret it is is quote unquote freedom or the American dream, but also someone with a completely different perspective and view on it can also see a totally different way of living that life. I don't know where I'm going with this, other than just adding that to the conversation.
No, it makes sense.
I thought you brought up.
Sometimes you don't need to add anything. Great.
The U.S. is in many ways just a big old contradiction, and it's a country founded on stolen land with stolen labor, and that's putting it nicely. And it's everything you both said. We're responsible for some of the thinking and documents that have led to more worldwide freedom than maybe any other country in the history of the planet. So it's this huge contradiction. And if we take that at the microcosm, like Amir, you were talking about, I wanted to kind of share an experience that I've had too. And I think it kind of related maybe with what you were saying in Dallas, which is so cool to hear. I engage with lots of politically conservative people. I don't know the word anymore because it doesn't feel like it maybe used to be, but we'll call them Trumpers, and who have genuine affection for me. And it just bakes my noodle because on the one hand, they would vote for me to be interned and shipped off the island and eradicated and, whatever, re-education camps, whatever they could do. Whatever homophobic action they could do at the ballot box, they're all in. But when it comes to engaging with me one-on-one, there's genuine affection in their eyes and in their voices and their hearts when they ask me about my husband, when they invite us to be with their family. And I am humbled, and it's beyond my wisdom to be able to hold these two opposing thoughts, this cognitive dissonance. It is so weird. I don't know what to make of it. It makes me cross-eyed. Did you have any kind of thoughts on that? Maybe what you've been experiencing in Dallas is kind of similar?
I got to a place, and I think this is like probably the last 10 years of therapy has helped me get to that place. I don't need to know that you're hateful. If you don't present it to me, I don't need to research it and try to find it and look for it. And I think I spent a lot of my life looking for it. And I believe that the universe sets you up for that. So you end up finding those people and you attract that energy. When I started my Instagram, it was called Coming Out with Love. And I was like, I'm angry. I feel othered in this country, and I'm not coming from a place of love. So I think a lot of people that are really staunch Republicans or super conservatives, they are ironically coming from a place of love, even though they're voting against us. I think they come from a place of, I know someone who's gay, and I know these are tropes, but someone does my hair, or the younger brother's friend is gay, or whatever it is, and they see something in us. And I think that what I think, when I do any kind of coaching, I always tell queer people when they come out, you actually end up becoming a superhero. And I think for a lot of people, it's hard for them to ever be themselves. So when they see us sashaying down the street looking fabulous or feeling confident or whatever it might be, they're like, wow, that's really alluring. And there's something magical about that. When I was in New York, and I'm always so in my head, and I have so many body issues, and, I've had an eating disorder, and I've had a lot of disordered thinking around myself. And I was crossing the street really feeling myself. And this guy secretly was taking my picture, and then he uploaded the photos and gave them to me. And that person that is walking across the street so confidently, I was like, I don't even know who that is. I was looking at the photos being like, that's what I look like? That's so magical. And that is queerness. That's nothing else but queerness, because I didn't even feel that confident that day. So I think that when it comes to conservatives, they are coming from a good place. It's just their interests sometimes supersede what other people might need. And I think that, I'm not saying Democrats are perfect. There are a lot of Democrats that are homophobic as well. And I don't want people to think that just because you're progressive in your policies or your political thoughts that you are so open and you want great immigration and you're not an Islamophobe. So we also have to be cognizant of that other story, because I've met many Democrats who have said very off the wall things, and I'm like, not great when you start a conversation with, I'm not racist, but yeah, you're going to be racist. Sorry.
That's such an important truth, though. I mean, come to Seattle. I mean, I think we have a corner of the market on the sort of self-satisfied latte liberals who are so quick to pat ourselves on the back for having all the right politics as long as it doesn't inconvenience us in any way.
There it is. Yep. And I think that's why people kind of find me to be like an inconvenient truth, maybe, because they're kind of like, we're on this page because we want to have fun. We want to see you talk about Bravo. And then I'm talking about like things they don't want to talk about, which is like body shamers and racism in the gay community or homophobia in the gay. People are like, that doesn't make sense. Homophobes in the gay community. I'm like, yes. Mm-hmm. Misogyny in the gay community. I mean, people are so quick to tell me if I wasn't so feminine that I would be a perfect boyfriend, right? Those words, and even like a movie like Bros, right? You're making a movie about two gay men in a rom-com, great, and then you're calling it Bros, right? You're adding that level of like, I get the joke, like I'm in on the joke. I enjoyed the movie. I know Billy Eichner. It's fine. Like, I'm not mad at it. I'm just like, again, that trope of the bro, the masculine white guy, right? Like the fact that if someone was to like, one of my friends did an experiment where he put like a very masculine, buff, white guy, like very like cisgendered on his grinder, and it was blowing up, right? Like just, and no information in the thing, nothing about age, nothing about anything, like just the photo itself, it all of a sudden like was going like off the wall, you know? So that says something about our community. And the reason I talk about these things is because I want it to be better for me. It's selfish. Like, I want it to be better so I can feel welcome. It's not just like, I'm not like a saint. Like, I just want people to know that I'm not a saint. Like, I'm doing it because I want to be welcome.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if you can't get people on moral theory or ethical principles, like let's go for pragmatic reality. Like what's going to make your life better? And diversity is always a strength. You know, there's nothing wrong with masculine people, even if they happen to be gay. But wouldn't it be lovely to show some other type of queer people in mass media? Right. And I think maybe that's kind of like what you're saying. It's Absolutely. Like there's room for all of our stories, but some of ours are suspiciously often left out.
Absolutely. And I think, you know what it is, Britt? It's like, it's a deeper conversation around, it's not about what you're doing, it's about who's doing it, right? When Harry Styles paints his nails, it's avant-garde, it's fashion. When a gay person does it, that's not appropriate for work. Why are you trying to be a woman? Right? That's important. I think it's important to understand. Oh, Timothée Chalamet wears the halter top. It's like, oh, that's so avant-garde, that's so fashion. But then Billy Porter does it, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's just a little too gay for us. So it's not about what they're doing, it's about who's doing it, right? So men have been wearing dresses, kilts, et cetera, for thousands of years. But what is it? Is it because those men are straight and masculine? Is that what it is, right? Like, so I think it's important to understand that. And like, why does Milk, like the RuPaul Drag Race queen Milk, become so famous and have so many followers? It's because they're buff, they're cisgender, they're like masculine, right? So I just want people to like enjoy. Listen, you never have to open a book, you never have to vote. I don't care what you do. But what I need you to do is like be aware of some of these things. I don't care it doesn't change my life if you vote. I don't really give a shit. Like, I think people are like, oh, you're always doing this, do that, talk about this. I don't give a shit what you do because my life's going to be great either way. Like, I'm good, I'm set, I look cute, I'm going to Neiman Marcus, like I'm traveling, like my life is set. So I only say these things because I'm like, I want things to be better for like all of us. So.
You're so generous about sharing the humanity in your story, but where do you get this confidence, and how can some more of us have it?
Well, it's just fake. So it's as fake as a Dior bag. I mean, from Canal Street, like people always ask me like, how do you find your confidence? I'm like, I don't have an answer. I mean, I was a confidence coach for literally most of the pandemic, and I still have no idea how my students, one opened a flower shop, the other one got a divorce, came out as bisexual. I mean, I'm like, you guys can you teach me how you did that? Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, I mean, I think confidence is like happiness. Like, people are looking for it to be a destination. And I think that it's a lifelong thing. It's like, you wake up some days and, I'm ready to like open an OnlyFans and like fuck on camera. And there are days where I'm like, I cannot get out of bed. I mean, it's really, the fact of the matter is that. And there are moments where I'm so confident and I'm in the middle of doing something, I lose the confidence. And I'm like, what the heck? Where'd it go? Like, so I think being kind to yourself, I don't know. It just like, it just disappears like an ether. And I don't know how to like reclaim it, but I think just be kind to yourself and listen, we're all on a journey. Like, I spent so much time eating lunch in a bathroom or hiding out, like, so I don't have to change in front of people in like, one of those single bathrooms. I, was bullied, was called fat, you have a lisp, you're gay, like all of that trash that people threw at me. After a while, you're like, oh, I can recycle this. Like, I don't need to hold on to that trash anymore. Like, I am not unworthy. I am not disgusting. I might be a certain weight, but I am enough for what I provide, right? And I used to like hate my voice, and I thought it was so, I was like that person that like can't listen to a voicemail. And then I got on Clubhouse, and people would like, the minute I come into a room, they'd be like, Amir's here. And I realized, wow, like my voice, like I didn't do anything to deserve this voice, but I got it. And it's kind of magical. Like I went into Whole Foods to pick up a cake, and the guy was like, oh, I know who you are. I remember you on the phone. Like, how many people did he talk to all day? And he remembers me. In the past, I would have like been like, oh my God, you sound like a girl. You're stupid. He probably thinks you're so dumb. And I was like, yeah, the voice is iconic. Like, she's iconic. So I think that is like where the confidence comes from. It's just, I have no other choice, really.
Is there also an element, because as you're talking, I'm thinking about courage kind of in the face of fear. And I wonder if there's an element of that in it, because I really get that some days it's easier for us to do the things that feel scary or that make us feel confident, and other days we just can't muster the courage or the bravery to take those actions. And I wonder if that kind of is something that gels for you.
It does. That
experience.
Yeah, it really does. And I would always tell my students or anyone who asks me like how to find confidence, I'm like, go to a restaurant, order something, and return it. Like, return it. And then like, just tell them I'm doing an exercise, like the food's fine, but do it in that moment, because there are so many people who can't do that simple act for themselves. They will eat something they don't like. They will sit through a date they don't like. They will sometimes even sleep with people they don't like. I've done that where I'm like, well, I'm already here, but like you're exchanging energy with someone and possible fluids, and you're like going, oh, well, I should just do it because I'm codependent. Like, that's not the right way to go about things. So I think that like, again, being conscious of why you're doing things and when you're doing things, and just to be like in your body a little more. And, I barely survived coming out. It was really on some days, like really like a hair follicle. I was barely, out. So I think that for me, I think gratefulness has a lot to do with it. And I don't mean toxic positivity where you're like, oh, I'm going to make a mood board and I'm going to make like I'm going to manifest. That's all great. But if you don't feel it and you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. Like, people go, well, I love myself. You're not acting like you love yourself, right? I had a therapist who said, you're treating yourself, like your inner child, like, think of it like this, like CPS is going to show up. Child Protective Services are going to show up. Would you talk to a child like that? Because I do that. Like, when I make mistakes, I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, when I was in New York, I like messed up, like, whatever, this like time that I had to be in an interview, and I was like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. And the person was like, oh, it's fine. Like, you're 10 minutes late. Right? Like, so I did all that beating up with myself, and then I had to show up and be like Amir Yass and like present myself and be like on. And then I was like, why did I do that to if my little cousin like literally knocked over something, I'd be like, that's fine, let's clean it up. If I did that, I'd be like, you're an idiot. Look what a mess you made, right? And those are the inner voices that you have to unlearn. Like, that's like an uncle or a friend or someone who said like, you're always a mess, right? Like, and I think that like stuff like that, it just takes so much work to like, and then you don't know you've done the work until you're presented with a situation. Like, a great example, I'll tell you a quick story. I went to like the grocery store in Dallas, and I was returning something, whatever. And I was waiting behind this woman, and she turned around and said, oh, I didn't even see you there. I thought you were invisible, right? Like, that's a really like, that's like, that could be very damaging to someone who's like, but I was like, yeah, she just didn't see me. In the past, I would have attributed like so much. I'd be like, oh my God, she thinks I'm invisible. I'm never heard. I'm never seen. I'm nobody. And I was like, listen, if she can't see this gorgeous 6'2" man, okay, with like a big head of hair, then she needs to get her eyes fixed. it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about her. It's her thing, right? So it's like remembering that. It's like, it's not always about you, right? I think that's like a big thing. I think especially in America, we always center ourselves and everything. And sometimes it's not about you. When someone's upset or angry or says you're fat or ugly, it's not even about you.
We're all the center of our own universe, right?
Yes.
And I think there's an element of, because we think so much about ourselves, we assume everybody else is too. But the truth is, everyone's just the same as us. And all they're doing is thinking about themselves.
Nobody cares. And people might talk about
Nobody
it for
cares.
2 minutes. I always tell my students and I tell my friends, like, 2 minutes. They're going to talk about it for 2 minutes. Even if you walk down, I saw a woman who was topless walking down the street in LA, okay? We were sitting at a cafe. We talked about it for 30 seconds. We were like, oh my God, is she really topless? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then we were like, okay, back, what are you ordering? Like, nobody stays on that topic long enough.
No.
So even if you fall and fail and get divorced and lose your job and you mess up and you end a relationship, I don't think anyone cares. Like, they don't care. Like, we're at the end of the day, we're on a spinning rock in space. I mean, I just heard the other day that black holes apparently burp up stars. After 3 years, they swallow a star, they burp up. I mean, what the hell? Where are we living? Right? So, like, why are you guys focused on this show? Like, who cares?
It's so absurd, isn't it? So absurd.
Yeah,
the absurdity of life.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And we attach so much meaning to everything, but I think we are meaning-making machines, right? We're designed to add meaning, and I think the danger is when we get caught in the trap of misattributing meaning, or choosing meaning that's harmful, or any number of things like that.
Yeah, it's all just stories. And what I'm hearing, Amir, is like you have cultivated this deep well of resilience and confidence by practicing authenticity and being yourself and learning to embrace yourself. And that ongoing project and experiment, in all sorts of different situations, and relentlessly putting yourself into the stream of life.
Absolutely. I have no other choice, Britt. Like, I think that a lot of people think, like, I willingly do this. I literally have no other choice. Like, I grew up in a very conservative Muslim household where nobody was really being themselves. Everybody was hiding. Everybody was looking for a voice. And then I would go to school and I'd be in a Christian school where, like, I'd be like the token Muslim. Then I go to the mosque and be the token gay child. And, like, it's like you just continuously feel othered. And after a while, you're just like, well, like, this is the life that I have, and I'm either going to sink or swim. And for me, I'm a great swimmer. She can do a great breaststroke. So I was like, I'm a swim and I'm going to butterfly my way through this life. And I think that I've done that. And I have to say that, and I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, but I've done it beautifully. Like, sometimes I'm shocked at how graceful I am because I don't feel that way. Like, I feel like Bambi on ice, right? But then I look at the videos, I look at the interviews, I'm like, I see myself the way I, like, go through life, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of graceful. Like, you got to give yourself a lot more credit. And I think that I give other people more credit because that's a lot less, like, vulnerable. Like, oh, you're doing great. Right? That's a lot less vulnerable than saying I'm doing great. And I think it's taken me, and even now I'm saying it, I'm like, oh, people are going to listen and they're going to be like, he's so egotistical. But it's not egotistical. Taking up space is, like, not being, like, egotistical. But I used to think that. So I would, shy away. And my dad, like, one time he was like, I'll give you $20 if you go hang out with the people at your birthday party. Because I didn't want to be around people because I felt like people were just, like, pointing. They're going to call me out. They're going to make me feel othered, right? They're going to be like, why are you this? Why are you that? So I think that, like, I just had no other choice than just to jump in and to really, like, I had to find that confidence. And, again, like I said, some days I can't muster it and other days I can. And honestly, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm super religious, but I honestly believe some of it's divine because I don't know where it comes from. Because I really, like, if you heard my internal thoughts, like, they're not so friendly. So, yeah.
It also sounds to me like you've cultivated a habit of making hard choices, right? Because you talk about kind of it appearing, even to you from the outside, as looking effortless and graceful, and it's like that. Surely that can only exist in a world where you have chosen to do hard things, because when you continuously choose to do hard things, life gets easy, right?
Yes.
Life gets less challenging. I don't know if that gels.
No, it does. It really resonates because especially with stand-up comedy, we had a comedy group that was like, it was like a roundtable of all the comedians with mental health issues. Like comedians are always depressed. Like when people would hear about like, you know, Robin Williams, they'd be so shocked. And I'm like, to be funny, you have to go through a really dark way, and there's no way around it. You can't go up, down. You have to go right through it. And I think that because like I said, I've been through those dark times, and, you know, working as a publicist, ironically, I gained a lot of my confidence by working with talent because they want it to be, I want to be the next J-Lo. I want to be the next Lady Gaga or whatever. And I would always tell them, why don't you be the next Amber? Why don't you be the next Jeanette? Why don't you be, and a lot of those people like, and then I started realizing, why am I trying to be Jonathan Van Ness when it's already taken? Amir Yass is great. Like I like someone wants to then model their career after me, right? And until I realized that, I couldn't do anything because this, especially social media, it's savage. Like when my first video, it got 10 views and it had 10 comments, which means like for every view, someone had a nasty comment. That's really hard to like not feel affected when people are like, you're old, you're not funny, you're fat, you're ugly, your voice sucks. You know, and then they got more and more aggressive. I want to kill you. I want you to die. And I think sometimes you go through that and then you're like, wait, I'm free to do whatever the hell I want. Because whatever I do, they're not going to like it. So I just did what I wanted and it works.
Yeah.
Like, it works. And
yeah.
I enjoy it. It's not even about like, oh, I want to make $1 million. I enjoy my own shit. And I think that's my the only advice people get from this episode is that love your own shit. Like, if you don't want to make a movie, don't make a movie because Leonardo DiCaprio did it. Like, it's not going to be good. Like, nobody cares. Like, it's not, I promise you, even if you become a massive success, you are not going to do it for a long time because it's not true to who you are.
There's something in there that really strikes me, and my brain's just farted. It will come back, I promise you. About standing for something, right? Mm-hmm. Because so many people are so worried about offending people, or worried about the rejection, or worried about any number of things that people end up standing for nothing, or end up not speaking their truth, or not following their dream, or not any number of those things. And so it strikes me that it really takes an ability to say, actually, no, this is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. I'm going to be here and I'm going to be talking about it no matter what. Right. And I'm always going to come up against resistance because anybody who has an opinion is going to get resistance. Right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the world that we live in. And so you either deal with that, learn to get used to it and move through it, and like you've done, reach a point where you're totally free, because even if people are in the comments saying they want to kill you, you're still going to keep going on, right? Because you've got something important to share.
100%.
And so I think that's a really important thing to kind of dial into, right? For the listeners as well, is that find your voice, use it, stand up, talk,
Absolutely.
Be seen, be heard,
Yeah, absolutely. And Jonathan, I'm a human being. So, I took a 5-month break. I was like, no more posting, no more. I can't do it anymore. You guys are just too mean. And TikTok is shadow banning my account just because I'm talking about being gay. I got tired of it, right? So it's okay to take a break, and then you come back, and I'm like full force now, and I'm back in it, and I really enjoy it. And it's also with all the negative stuff, there's always the people that are like, you saved my life. I got through the pandemic because of you. I wait for these videos. I'm at like in a bad relationship, and I watch these videos and I laugh and I feel like we're friends. And so that stuff, like, and I always get emotional, but that kind of stuff is like the reason I do it, because that's the only reason, really. Like, yeah. So.
Well, there's so much that's beautiful about you, and one of the things that attracted me right away was the way that you are so expressive and so surprisingly optimistic. Surprisingly optimistic, and relentlessly pushing yourself out into the real world. Jonathan kind of alluded to some of the echo chambers that tempt us when we don't get the serotonin hit maybe that we're looking for on a given day. And it's always a pleasure to be with friends and loved ones that we can effortlessly express ourselves and seamlessly be our true selves. but the reality is that the society is a messy business, and it's incumbent upon us, certainly if we're talking about things like democracy and political systems meant to increase liberation, worldwide liberation. It's going to take all of us, and when we acknowledge that fact, then we are compelled to speak with people and listen to people who disagree with us. And your bravery and courage has touched me so deeply over the years, watching all of your various socials and seeing you be so honest and real and authentic about the good days and the bad days and taking the breaks and everything, yet still swimming in the stream of life as best you can. There's so much inspiration in that. And, I wonder, like you said, you do it because you have to. Like, it's not necessarily this magnanimous choice that you're doing for everybody. You're doing it for yourself, and because that's how you have to be and how you have to survive. When you're working with students, how do you help them tap into that for themselves?
I think it's really important to meet people where they are. So, like I said, I had a student who was, had come out to her husband during the pandemic that she's bisexual. And, obviously he didn't take it well. Men, have fragile egos, and he didn't take it well, and et cetera, et cetera. And instead of saying, you need to come out, leave him, we're going to figure it out. You got to it's not my place to first of all, I always tell people, are you safe? Are you financially comfortable? Right. A lot of people pushed me to come out. Specifically a lot of queer people. Come out, you'll never regret it. But I wasn't ready to hear that. I was feeling unsafe financially. I was tied to my parents. I didn't want them to hate me. I didn't feel safe. So when people would push me, it was really, really hard. So I'm not a pusher. If it takes 50 classes for you to literally go to a restaurant alone, then that's what it took, right? I had a student, it took 10 sessions for her to wear, a crop top to the bank. She was very self-conscious about her body, but she did it, and she hated me for it, but she did it. And that's all that matters, right? I struggled with agoraphobia at a time. I didn't leave the house for 3-4 weeks. Me going to CVS and getting out of the car was a huge success, right? Now I'm doing interviews on the red carpet, and I'm like, okay, who was that guy? Right? So I think it's it sometimes gets so in the rear view, and you're like, wait, what? How did I ever struggle? For me, I'm how was I not always out? I don't understand. How was I living my life? I was basically half breathing. So I think that's really important, because I think a lot of people listen to podcasts and they get really great advice. You listen to Jay Shetty and he's saying the perfect stuff and it sounds great, and no shade against him. I think he's wonderful. But a lot of times people listen to that and they're like, I could never do that. That's so far from what I'm trying to I can never love myself. And what I say to that is how about you start with liking yourself? Let's start there, right? And then we can work up, because that seems so it's you hate yourself, and then you're someone saying you love, it just it doesn't register. So I started on a lower frequency, and then we just and I slowly up the ante, and I can always tell when it's working when they don't want to come back. Right? It's kind of it has a therapy energy. They don't want to come back. They're making excuses. They're I can't afford it. And I'm I know you can. So it's I think that's it's important to call people out in a nice way. Call them out,
Yeah. It's so good. I love that. I know you can afford it.
You can afford it. I'm telling you, I know you can afford it. You work in finance and you're telling me the job's killing you, then you better do something about it. The number one thing I don't get angry, but the thing that will piss me off in any kind of teaching situation is, number one, carelessness, and not being thoughtful. So if you're telling me you want to become an a mom influencer, but you don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. and shoot 5 videos, then I don't want to teach you. You don't want it bad enough. I think it's important to people want all that stuff, and they're it looks so easy. The Kardashians are doing it. No. They are coming from a famous family, and they work really hard. I've worked with them. I've worked with a lot of really big talent. They work 3 times harder than you would ever imagine. So, I worked with Donald Glover. He sleeps 4 hours a day. They don't sleep. These people are working, and even when they're famous, they work 10 times harder. So I think it's really important that people, like, when you following your dreams is not easy. That's why most people just clock in and clock out. So if you really want to follow your dreams, like, it's not going to be fun. And I always thought, like, oh, you follow your dreams and then it's like so cute and you're wearing like cute outfit and you're like living your best life and everyone's like, and then everyone's facilitating it. What I realized is you're stripped naked, thrown into the gutter, and then a bus drives by every 5 minutes and you get splashed with dirty ass water. Like, that's what it feels like to follow your dream. So
that was the part of Mary Tyler Moore like, they never showed.
That was behind the scenes. Like, she got some dog shit in her shoe. She got like dirty water. The hat was like brown. Like, yeah, they don't show anything. She didn't catch the hat. Like, give me a break. She did not catch the hat. She threw it like 40 feet in the air. Like, I don't know. Like, see, that's the thing where I'm like, false advertising. I wish someone would have told me. So that's where I'm at. Because, I'll leave this podcast feeling good and I'll be like, I feel good. And then I'll get a rejection. I'll get an email. I'll get, a brand deal will fall through. Whatever it might be, you'll get an email saying, oh, well, we love working with you. And I've missed out on huge brand deals because of that. Oh, well, you're too vocal. Well, you're not vocal enough. How about that? But, that still affects me, right? Like, that's still money. And, I can't pay my rent with cute little ad libs. So I need money, and so I think that, like, navigating that is tough.
Yeah, it's like collecting no's. You have to get real happy with rejection and going out there and collecting no's and figuring out, okay, that's the main thing as queer people that I long for us to experience as a community that you alluded to earlier, which is taking up more space and carving out a space for ourselves and each other in this world, actually carving it out. And that's hard work. I mean, did we honestly think that all these straight white cis men were going to just hand us their power without cost or consequences? No, we're going to have to earn it with sweat equity and backbreaking labor. And it's going to hurt and we're going to make mistakes and it's going to be messy and ugly. And, it's not going to come gift wrapped. It's not going to look like it was perfectly edited with the right filters and Photoshop applied. It's going to be janky and weird and we're going to feel weird doing it. And, there's no finish line. So it's like in this big experiment, I just long for a community kind of to be like Amir, is like, take up more space, be yourself, let go of these stories, stop taking it so seriously, get out in the stream of life and just let your light shine.
Yes. I need a shirt that says get in the stream of life. Like, I think we should make a shirt. We need that. We need that in our lives.
Merch deal.
Merch deal. I love it. No, I think, you make a great point. It's like, there's no other way than to get in it, right? And I think that we talk so much about success that we don't talk about failure. I failed so many times, but I think that's made me more sympathetic, more empathetic, more aware of like how things are not always going to work out, right? Like a great example is Jennifer Coolidge. Like, she had written off her career. She was doing small guest spots and now she's like totally having a resurgence. Like, who would have guessed it? Right? Like, so I think it's like having that confidence in yourself. Or Kate Bush is a great example. People are like, oh, this is a new artist. And it's like, no, she's been around, she's been around for a while, Gen Z, you never know what's going to happen. So I think it's like, and Hollywood is a great, the reason I love that this industry is that it's like such a microcosm for life. Like, you see people have these careers, you see people be arrogant, you see people like lose their careers because they're not grateful. And it says a lot about how life works. Like, if you're grateful and happy and energetic and you send good energy into the world and you want to create content that people can enjoy, like, you're going to have a career. I don't think it's rocket science. Like, people always like, what's the secret to success? I'm like, just doing it. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't have anyone in the industry. I don't know anyone. I have no nepotism. Like, I just DM'd people. I made calls. I reached out to people. Like, and I was genuine. I wasn't like, give me something. I was like, how can we help each other? I think that's like really important that people kind of miss out on. They're like, give me this. Like, and I get those DMs. Like, I want help now. Look at my Instagram now. And I'm like, well, that's not the energy that I was looking for today, What y'all looking for today?
Well, like you said, I think a lot of us are just unwilling to pay the cost for what it takes to follow our given dream. There's a lot of luck or whatever that goes into it. But in terms of the sweat equity component that you're talking about, it's like a lot of it's expensive. And just in terms of the emotional, energetic, financial, the sweat equity, the outlay of, it's hard work, like you're saying. And I think a lot of us expect things to land in our lap.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a really curious thing, that, isn't it? The kind of entitlement of that, but also the inability to move past a no or do anything of any substance to actually get a result. Yeah. People want it handed to them, and I always tell people, I'm like, everything in my life, money, like whatever, relationships, friendships, it was kind of like handed to me. I didn't have to work very hard for it, and I didn't appreciate those things. But this like show and what I've been pitching and like my Instagram and TikTok, I made it from the ground up. Like I created it in a really tumultuous time of my life, and I made it happen. And if it never becomes a financial success, I don't really care, because for me, my only goal from when I started was to save one life, and I've saved hundreds of people's lives. And I can say that without being an egomaniac, because I have the receipts, right? So like I love Bravo, so I'm like at a reunion, I have the receipts. Like I know what I have accomplished, and I think that when you get to a place where people can't take that away from you, nobody can take that away from me, that's pretty refreshing. And I think that that's where I am today.
I have this theory I want to run by you both. I, for a long time, was focused on success, like you're talking about, and would come up with different ways to define that for me with various projects and stuff. And then I kind of shifted that focus to impact, lives changed, hearts touched, people reached. And now I don't even like that. Now, these days, I've really focused on the creative impulse, the spark. My thinking is, and this is maybe a little woo-woo, but my thinking these days is I want to connect with that divine spark and force and energy in the universe and nurture that flow and let the outward expression be what it wants to be. And if nobody likes it, that's okay, that's fine. Or if people love it, that's great too. It's almost more like play. As opposed to now, I'm a certain age and I've reached a certain station in life that there's privilege that's all over my life. But I'm just saying, given this sphere that I'm in, I focus these days more on that creative spark than even impact and certainly success or 5-year plans or, like you said, vision boards or that. I could not be bothered with any of that. And it feels better. It feels like there's more of a flow, and it feels like more like play.
I agree.
So I'm not just full of beans there. It's like,
no, you're on the right track. I mean, I think if you're not having fun, then what's the point? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, people are always like, oh my God, you look like you're having so much fun. I'm like, well, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, it's exciting. Like, I think it's exciting when I DM someone that I looked up to and they respond and then we're friends and they're following me. I mean, that's exciting. I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting to connect with people. Like when I went to New York, I met all these people in real life that I'd been talking to the entire pandemic. And it's amazing. Like, how is that not exciting? Like, so I'm also like a child. And I think that one of the reasons children, dogs love me, because I'm just like excited about it. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. I die for these shoes. I die for this outfit. Like, I love this food. Like, why are people not more excited? Like one of my exes, which is why he's an ex, would always be like, why are you excited about everything? I'm like, and the Madeleines are so cute at Starbucks. Like, I don't know. Like, why can't I be excited about that?
It's as someone who has suffered with perpetual lack of excitement in my life, I can kind of understand how tapping into that can be such a magical thing.
Oh my God, so magical.
And also, from the other side, I can understand why people aren't. Like, I really can.
Yeah. I
could dig into that, but I feel like we'd be here for hours. So
yeah, that's a very deep conversation. I think people sometimes don't want to see the joy too, like because they're like, if I see the joy, then I have to change my circumstance. And I think changing your circumstance is really scary. Like I wasn't feeling happy in California, so I moved. I don't live in Texas, but I moved like in with my family here, and I feel a lot happier. So sometimes a shift like that listen, I'm not going to move to Texas, but I'm here now. And I think that people are like, I can tell people that don't look for joy on a daily basis are like, why are you living there? What's going on? Are you moving there? I'm like, I don't know. And I think that that's kind of exciting. And that's like where I am in my life, you know? So I think it's great.
And I think like promises are for children. All the rest of us really have is the here and now. And so, like you said, I'm here now, be here now. You know, that's really all I have. You know, when I'm in California, I'll be in California. When I'm in New York, I'll be in New York. I'm in Dallas right now. I'm here now.
Just let it be.
You know?
Just let it be.
Like,
I don't overthink things, you know, and I'm so sorry, you guys. I forgot that I have a 3 o'clock. So I do need to run. I'm having so much fun, but I do need to run. I'm so sorry. I just looked at the time and I was like, oh shit.
Not at all, Amir. So thank you so much for being here. We will make sure everybody has access to your handles in the show notes. We encourage everybody to check out Amir Yass. He's brilliant, funny, affirming, wildly optimistic. Who knew? Incredibly comedic, hysterical. Make sure you check him out. And thank you so much, listeners. You made it through another heartrending, heartwarming hour of Not Going Quietly, the podcast for heartbroken healers and outraged optimists all over the world. We love you, and we're so glad you joined us today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Not Going Quietly with co-hosts Jonathan Beal and Britt East.
Thanks so much for joining us on this wild ride as we explore ways to help everyone leap into life with a greater sense of clarity, passion, purpose, and joy.
Check out our show notes for links, additional information, and episodes located on your favorite podcast platform.